Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome. Part fucking 99 of Fear and Hunger 2. Chris and Andrew. I'm not even kidding. No, if I had to guess, I think this is part 29?
Somewhere in the 20s, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing good. For context, I told Chris that I have a little thing to share at the start of stream here.
Yeah. All I know is that he bought something recently.
I bought something very recently, as in like under 20 minutes ago, basically.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I was, and you know what? I think I might actually mix down Fear and Hunger just for a second here. There we go. Now I can hear myself think. So
like that.
I was out doing stuff today. I went to my local coin laundromat and I was just washing my bedding. So you put the stuff in, you put the coins in the machine. Japan's cool where you don't have to bring your own soap. The machines have soap in them. So you just put the clothes in, close the door, put the money in, click the button, and it's like, all right, come back in 40 minutes.
Dang, that's kind of cool.
So I was like, okay, I got 4 minutes to kill. Could walk down to downtown and do a few things. But I'm not sure if I want to do all that at once. So I'll go to my local shop nearby. So I have a store nearby that it's kind of two stores in the same building. Mm-hmm. One half is a bookstore of various books ranging from a bunch of like manga comic books to magazines to textbooks, lots of stuff. Like, it's a really nice store, and also lots of supplies for like school as well. Pencils, pens, all that kind of stuff. And then the other side is space reserved for a secondhand figures, games, and movies shop with
cool.
a main slant towards anime and games. So I always go in there just to see what's there. There's some pretty cool stuff there at times.
You said it's a secondhand shop, right? So
yes,
cool.
Yes. But the thing is, with secondhand stuff in Japan, secondhand can mean, oh, I bought this, but then never ended up using it, so I'm going to sell it off so that I have like additional capital to buy something else, or I just need the money right now. Sometimes it can be still like in its original plastic wrap kind of thing.
Nice. I still got stuff like that.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm wandering through, I'm looking at the stuff. It's like, okay, that's still here, that's still here. There's a bunch of stuff that I always look at and I'm like, I could buy that, but where the fuck do I put it? And I'm walking along and I see, you ever have that thing where you see something out of the corner of your eye and your brain goes, you've seen that before.
Yeah.
Go look at that. So I'm like, what? And I look at it and I pull it off the shelf. I look at it and I put it back and I go, fuck, I don't have the money on me right this moment, but if I did, I'd buy this. So I went and did all my grocery shopping and everything else, did all my work, and in the span of that, pulled money out of the ATM to spend, and then came home, ate lunch, and I was like, all right, we got half an hour till stream. Let's do this. Head back in there because I'm like, because I've been to this shop before where I put something back on the shelf and I went back to go get it and it was gone because someone else had grabbed it. So this, and I'm sending the image over to Chris now, is what I saw on the shelf, and I was like, fuck it, I'm buying that. I don't care.
I knew it was going to be Berserk.
So that is a reproduction panel from the Berserk exhibit that was available to sell.
The what?
So that the Berserk exhibit
like a
was
cell,
when
kind of?
all of So they basically took Mira's panels that he had drawn on, upscaled them to the size of like a painting,
Yeah.
and put them behind glass that you could look at, and then some of them were available for purchase. Now, this is a reproduction, but it's the panel where Guts and Serpico are fighting in the catacombs.
That's so cool.
So I was like, I don't care, I'm buying that.
Yeah.
What's really cool and is sadly not in that picture is that at the very edge of the panel there are additional like pen strokes and stuff.
So you own this now?
I own this now.
Wow.
That's the blue that you're seeing beyond that is the blue of my bed.
I sleep in blue as well. Round of applause, please.
I have no idea where to put it. It's still in a plastic.
Oh, I can see the pen
protected
strokes
casing around it.
Kind of on the left there.
But I was just like, I am not letting that thing out of my fucking sight. This is a once in a blue moon chance of getting this thing.
Wow. Who sold that? Damn.
Who sold that is the real question.
To a store like that where they're just going to mark it up, put it on eBay, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, even though like it's a reproduction, it's not an original.
Yeah.
$20.
$20, damn.
$20. And like it's not a super significant panel, but it's a full panel of
a combat
guts.
scene. Yeah. Featuring guts too. Like there you go. Yeah, even Spider says treat it like the treasure it is.
Mm-hmm.
Good shit.
So,
hey, no spoilers, but how far are you in Berserk? Did you finish it?
I have not gone back and read any further from when I last reported, which is being in Fish Village.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's just because I'm so excited to hear what you think.
Yeah. So, anyways,
well, that's awesome,
back
man.
to Fear and Hunger here.
Yeah. So, just to recap, kind of what happened last time is we got ending.
Hey.
I don't. Was it ending A?
Hey, Machine God.
Machine God ending. Yeah. And that is as far as I have played. So. When we went up to the tower the time before last, that was my first time up there.
You.
Yeah, I've never been engaged in combat with Perkle or Rare, so yeah, very cool to see. Everything here is new to me, but there is one thing I do want to show Andrew because I know he'll appreciate this before we get back to where we were. And yeah, you don't know what I'm talking about, so here, let's boot up a new game.
Okay, new game.
Let's go Osa.
Osa. Fear and Hunger.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
Give me the full text adventure.
Ooh.
Spider says, pretty sure I lost my Biologic show #1, which is hard to find, and I got for like $4, which resells for like $75. Biologic show 1? What's that?
It's a comic book, I guess, but I've never heard of that title before.
Let me look this up first before we get into the...
Okay.
It's a 90s comic by Al Columbus. Really? Wait, I know that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I love that. Oh, he makes such cool looking shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry you lost it. Andrew, would you like to read?
Sure.
It's a lot of reading, but so let me know if you get tired.
Yeah. Well, I do read for a living, Chris.
That's true.
90% of my day is talking for a living. The soothing sound of the rail tracks. You are not used to such peaceful and tranquil atmosphere. You cannot help but let your mind wander. You reminisce what has led you to this point in life. You were born and raised in the raging heats of Abyssonia, I guess? Abyssonia?
Abyssinia, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Spider says, work's over, time to relax with some more talking.
The continent with a long history embedded with chaos and warring factions. Those fools, the people around you, waged wars over ancient disputes and grudges started by long-gone ancestors. But that is how it had always been. The people of Abyssinia held ancestors and their spirits on a godlike pedestal. But it's not like it was any better in the north, in the continent of Europe. Those fools worship ancient deities that none of them had even ever seen with their own eyes. And they certainly had their disputes as well. A great war after another. What's worse, their disputes didn't stay within their borders. They dragged everyone into their mess. They had set their eyes on Abyssinia now because of its strategic position in securing an access to oil and other raw materials from the east. It was only a matter of time before their troops would march on your land. You were not going to die because of some faceless puppeteers' choice? Yeah. No, that is choice.
Because some faceless puppeteers chose to focus.
Chose to focus their magnifying glasses on your home country this time. Despite your young age, you decided to leave. Your siblings and mother would mourn your departure. They wanted you to have something to remember them by. Chalk or a soul stone.
So what I wanted to show you was the intro. So we don't have to play the Osaz story yet, because we would get back to the tower stuff. But yeah, so I wouldn't think too much about what you're picking. Although I guess they do different lore too. Took the soul stone with you.
Holds your father spirit in it. You'd consider yourself as successfully dead inside, not swayed by emotions, but it took a lot of effort to convince yourself that you wouldn't miss your family. You still obviously had weaknesses to weed out. You headed to the City of the Sun, Amman, to educate yourself on spiritualism and religion. You are no... Slough? Yeah. I guess. You were no slough physically, but you always considered your intellect your true forte. And just like that, you were accepted as an apprentice after some preliminary tests. At the same time, news about the Great War closing Abyssinian borders were all they could talk about. All they could talk on the radio. Amman was far from the borders, and it would probably remain safe for a good while, even after a war broke. You figured you'd still have plenty of time to learn at the temple and leave the country before it was too late. At the Temple of Amman, you were given a choice to learn various different schools of spiritualism. Worship of Europe, worship of the East, worship of your home. I'm going to say, let's go East. East gets you pyromancy. Cool. You were talented and praised for your quick learning at the temple. But that came as no surprise to you. You knew you were smarter than most of those old geezers.
Geezer like
they
this.
Only possessed knowledge you wanted. Once you had that, they served no purpose to you. The more time you spent at the temple, more pathetic the priests of Amman started to look in your eyes. Religion in general started to look dubious too. after examining how the world functioned. Most religious doctrines were modeled to accommodate the current ruling class. Religion was used as a mere tool to control masses more than anything else. Dedicating your life to worship would equal dedicating your life to kings and queens of the time. You had left your home because you didn't want to die fighting someone else's war, so why would you waste your life serving someone else's in turn? Around this time, you found an old scroll, one of the many Amon libraries. The scroll mentioned an old sect of magical practitioners originating from eastern sanctuaries whose worldview seemed more appealing to you. Yellow mages, different from your typical priests, instead of dedicating their lives to worship, gods existed for them. Their force was to be harnessed to further one's own personal growth and agenda. Instead of finding order from the commandments laid out by the older gods, yellow mages reveled in chaos. Chaos was the nature of the natural state of the world, would return time and time again. So why even try and force it to anything else? You quit at the Temple of Amon and decided to head east in pursuit of these yellow mages. You traveled beyond your home continent, ultimately finding yourself at the narrow streets of the eastern sanctuaries. You got acquainted with the local temples. Even they had adopted the worship of Almer as their main religion. Ooh. Eastern sanctuaries were no better than the temples of Amon in that regard. If anything, religion was even more prevalent there and dictated the way people were to live and die. You were looked down upon by the scholars and religious leaders of the area because of your very public opinions that didn't bother you. You knew better. In time, your conviction convinced the facets you wanted. You were approached by a group of traveling mages who wore colorful attires. The yellow mages that were still around in this day and age were reduced to small, separate groups wandering around the world to study all fields of the otherworldly. The group saw the potential in you and offered a place among them. You liked what you heard and decided to join the wandering group. What did you specialize in? No more advanced. We got hurting. Your path of learning and self-growth knew no end. Your travels brought you to a small border town in the eastern sanctuaries. There you met a curious person, Hadlif Azareth, a self-proclaimed wizard from the Far East. Despite his pretentious appearance, his family name, as if, was well known, and even somewhat feared in certain occult circles, which gave his claims at least some credibility. He was gathering a group of adventurers to accompany him on a perilous quest. He had inherited a map from his late grandfather that was supposed to lead him to the infamous dungeons of the Fear and Hunger itself. The place used to be a notable location of pilgrimage for many aspiring mages and priests in the distant past. The yellow mages you had spent time with previously told ominous tales about the dungeons as well. Initially, you dismissed Azif's talk, only to be haunted by the most brutal nightmares on the following night. Something was calling for you. You had to witness the place yourself. You joined the motley crew of adventurers Azif had managed to put together and traveled through the war-torn traveled through war-torn Europe. Most of the crew quit halfway to Rondon because of how difficult it was to cross borders during those chaotic times. The closer to the destination you got, the more feverish your dreams became. The remaining members of your ragtag fellowship were visibly sick from stress and otherworldly pressure that had befallen on you the moment you set on your quest. The breaking point was the day you finally arrived at the dungeons. A heavy fog drowned your camp and made navigation impossible. Using a compass... Yeah, typo. That's okay. Using a compass did no good, as the thing was just spinning circles wildly. Distant growls and howls created unrest. Not that there was any need for that, as superstition and constant misfortune had already convinced your fellow travelers that this trip was cursed from the start. Your companions panicked and scattered into the mist, as if himself had been sick with constant nightmares for half the trip already. You left him curled up in the fetal position in his tent, venturing forth on your own. After walking for a while, you started to make out something behind the thick white veil. The mist revealed structures of some kind. You got a full set of old ruins that looked more like a messy pile of rubble now. If it wasn't for the dreadful aura emanating from the deep within, you couldn't tell that there was anything remarkable about this place whatsoever. Near the main entrance arch, there was a makeshift architectural site with tents and digging equipment. The site looked abandoned. On the other side, there was a side entrance. Ooh, the dungeons with stairs leading down to the darkness below. Examine the tents. Main entrance, side entrance. Give me that side. Cautiously, you walk down the slippery stairs, only to find a cave-in. The hallway had totally collapsed, and there seemed to be no way around it. Buried under the rubble, there was an old skeleton in medieval leather armor, crushed under a ton of rocks. You didn't want to suffer the same fate with the skeletons. You returned back. Near the main entrance. So on and so forth. Okay. Let's do tents. The archaeological site seemed relatively new, maybe a couple years old at tops. There were no signs of people. Whoever had set it up had long abandoned the place too. All the documents and reports were written in Bremen, so you couldn't tell what exactly these people were looking for. This might have just been a regular archaeological excursion that stumbled into their certain doom unknowingly. If these truly were the dungeons of the fear and hunger, then even in their current state, they would surely swallow unprepared tourists whole. Near the main entrance, yes. Okay, main entrance. The moment you step inside the dungeon, the walls you felt immerse otherworldly pressure. You understood that the place would drain any normal person to the brink of To the brink of madness and starvation in a matter of mere hours. You had to be efficient about this. Even if the day was still bright, the darkness seemed to suffocate all life. You could barely see anything of you. You lit up a torch. Hope you have more. You stood at a vestibule of the dungeons. To your left, you saw a doorway leading to what seemed like a kitchen. There was a small room with a wooden furniture in front of you, and to your right, a closed door.
So this is so cool.
I know.
Like, you just picture it in your head.
It like turning Funger 1 into a text-based adventure.
And then using what you gained from that in a playthrough of Funger 2 is so cool.
Yeah. And even now playing Funger 1 music.
Oh my god, yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm. The room had small stools around a large wooden table covered in cobwebs and old stains. At the end of the room, there were old cupboards and kitchen utilities that had been that had collapsed on the ground. The other corner, a row of wooden barrels. Go to the barrels! The barrels might have once stored food items, but that was hundreds of years ago. There was nothing useful there anymore. Suddenly you hear a loud banging and screeching coming from the entrance hall. Adrenaline was rushing through you as you ran back to see what was causing the noise. The closed door was jolting from its hinges. Something big was trying to force its way through the door, whatever it was, creating inhuman guttural sounds between its swings at the door. Hide in the kitchen. You quickly waltzed inside the kitchen and pressed against a corner where you thought you could stay hidden while seeing what you were up against. The door crashed open. You saw a dark silhouette of a gigantic malformed being pushed from the open doorway. The creature made gurgling noises as it slowly wandered to the other room. You used this chance to sneak past the thing to the dark corridor from where it first came from. Only the creature had clearly gotten used to the darkness as it sensed you the moment you got your hiding spot. You charged to the unknown darkness without a second thought. You ran as fast as you could, creating distance to the malformed beast with each step. You couldn't see much in the darkness, but a door frame that had light shining through its cracks caught your attention. You cracked the door open, stumbled to an overgrown courtyard. Quickly glancing back to the dark corridor, you noticed that the beast was nowhere to be seen. You figured that the last rays of the setting sun still kept it at bay. You took a breather and slowly walked across the yard. The grass had taken a sickly yellowish color, the setting sun creating an ominous shadow as its rays hit the lone gallows standing at the entrance of the enclosure. I'm trying to picture in my head where this is in number one's map.
I think this is...
Because this... Go ahead.
Take the side. No, I think this is... Yeah, you go in the main entrance, and then, like, sometimes if you go kind of forward, it's like the courtyard.
I think that, yeah, that's what I was thinking, too, is usually... Sometimes you get that courtyard that is... you got the well to your left. Sometimes there's a cursed door with the hexen on the right there, and then there's another entrance that takes you deeper in.
Yep.
I think that's what this is describing.
That's what I'm picturing in my head, too.
Yeah. As you managed to focus your thoughts, you realized that there was an additional voice echoing in your head. Something or someone was calling you from the depths of this forsaken fortress. There was something very curious about this echo. You needed to find its source. Not like you had a choice, but to delve deeper as the sun was rapidly setting down, stripping you from the last barrier that kept the murderous beast hiding in the shadows. The courtyard led to another door to the darkness. You pushed forward. You were at the foyer of the dungeons. The hall was large. To your left was a lavatory. To your right, a long corridor leading to total darkness, and before you rose a large stairway up. The stairs. The wide stairway led to an Almerian sacrificial altar with a skeleton crucified to it. To the next to the altar was a side path leading deeper inside the fortress.
Okay, so that's that statue with the what used to be something with flesh on it, which was 100 years ago.
Yeah, and that's one where that's the statue that has the two priests that you can kill for usually your first soul stone in the game.
Yeah.
And then you can sacrifice the guy on the altar.
To get some affinity with Grogeroth. Baby.
Go side. The path was a narrow corridor crudely made from misshapen bricks and stones. It looked like the floor had collapsed at certain points. Yes, it does. And you were able to hop over the trench with ease. Large room opened up before you. The room stood out with its fine decor, spiral floor tiling, and many bookcases covered in the walls. Search the bookcases! Search the bookcases! The southern corner of the room had a small doorway shrouded in darkness. The northern corner was more dilapidated with its caved-in ceiling and all.
Ooh.
Search the books. Most of the books still left had been grown. Oh!
Yeah.
Look at that.
Sylvian right off the fucking bat.
Holy shit. Manuscripts all seem to be part of a bigger compilation, and you would have loved
You got
to
an empty
have
scroll.
all of them with you. Jesus Christ. Yeah, like Osal is the only person who gets an empty scroll. And you spend the whole rest of the game looking for quill and ink to write on it. But you had a job to do, and you couldn't burden yourself with too much extra luggage. A large room open thing, yes. So let's check the doorway. Your torch slowly lit up. The small room revealed a wooden desk with drawers, a carpet that was from the Eastern Sanctuaries, judging by its pattern, a partly eaten corpse that seemed to be part of the archaeological expedition. Yes.
Search the desk 11 times.
Okay. 11 times.
Yes.
Okay, so here's one. It's trashed. Most of the valuables have been looted. Opening a drawer revealed only an old thing. Now, do I want to force or leave and sequence back in?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
So.
Let me try and force it.
Okay.
You kicked the drawer a couple times and managed to force it open. Lucky coin.
Nice.
Ooh. Faint whining and moaning could be heard from the partially eaten archaeologist. The corpse was trying to get to its feet as it stumbled up. A group of keys fell from his lap. You picked up the prison keys. I'm gonna hurt it.
Whoa.
Oh,
Fucking.
Well, get all the shit rolls out of the way here. Before managing to attack, you trip to a pile of rubble as you lift your torch to see the ghoul already charging towards you with surprising ferocity and landing his teeth on your shoulder. You manage to push the creature back just barely to escape with only a minor injury. You backed away from the room, yet the ghoul kept on following you. You cautiously hop over the collapsed floor in the corridor leading up to the library. The creature was not as agile, and instead face planted on the ground as it tripped on the rubble. The ghoul was waist deep in the trench, unable to climb back up. Desperately, he tried to reach out for you with his blood-soaked hands. The whines and groans turned into agitated shrieks as it furiously tried to snatch you. It looked like the creature was stuck. You figured you'd best just leave this area for now and explore elsewhere. And back to the foyer.
Okay. The foyer.
I'm gonna go dark corridor because this dark corridor should be where, like, the bed, Buckman, and torture would be.
Oh, okay.
Your torch slowly pushed away the darkness as you advanced towards the unknown. The further you got, the stronger the echo inside your head became. You couldn't make out words clearly, but this was definitely the right direction to head. A large room opened up behind a series of rusty iron bars. Your torch revealed human-like figures that stood still just beyond the radius of light. Upon closer inspection, you notice these figures were medieval Iron Maidens. Yeah, so this is torture room with the Iron Maidens. The human-shaped torture devices that had seen practical use judging from the old stains that had been formed from the seeping blood of their victims. The room had a number of other various torture devices. Well, most of them would probably be inoperable in this day and age. Among them, you saw an old reinforced chest at the back of the saw corridor leading the cell. Check the chest. This might as well be medieval from all you know. As you tried to open it, you realized the lock was still fully functioning. Couldn't open it without the proper key.
Prison key.
I know, right? Cold draft run across the chamber. The draft seemed to be guiding you towards the dark corridor at the end of the room. Dark corridor. Loud creaks and groans could have been heard behind you. Something big had just entered the foyer. The fucking elite guard that can sometimes spawn at the beginning there. You figured it must have been the malformed archaeologist from before. The sun must have set, which made it possible for the creature to advance through the courtyard. The creature must have had your scent as your footsteps clearly closed in on you at a rapid pace. You had to act fast. The corridor that opened up was a long, with multiple cell doors covering each side. At the end, there were large bars sealing off a staircase. Okay, yep. The only a rusted lock stood in your way towards the deeper darkness. I'm gonna go for the gate. You heard the creature trash the nearby torture room. He was right on your heels. You couldn't see him in the darkness, but you could sense his intense hatred homing in on you. The gate was locked with a reinforced lock. You tried to remain calm as you hoped the prison keys to work. The beast was already charging towards you as you opened the gate and slipped inside only seconds before the malformed monster smashed against the bars. Violently, the creature tried to reach for you while making low grunting noises from his swollen throat. The bars and the gate seemed to hold the beast for now, but you didn't want to stay and find out whether the thing eventually break in. Instead, you took the stairs deeper into the darkness. The thought crossed your mind: if the darkness had twisted those poor sods to become mindless beasts, would the same fate await you if you stayed at the dungeons for long enough? The stairs became sticky from old gore and blood. The deeper you got, the air was stale and rotten smell. Run away from the fucking snake man.
No. We like the snake man.
Him and his insta-kill counter shield.
Dark Souls
The
fan.
voice inside your head got louder. You still couldn't make sense of any words, but it was definitely calling you. Deeper, you had to go deeper. That much was clear. You entered a huge catacomb full of partly buried skeletons and rotten corpses laying about. The ground had a thick layer of dried blood and filth, which had accrued around the chamber walls over the years. Each step you took echoed to dizzying heights. You couldn't see the chamber ceiling. The walls rose up forever to the darkness. There were 2 staircases in the chamber. One led to the ground level you had just escaped. The other led to a lower level. In the middle of the chamber, there was a rather new-looking wooden contraption. If I check the pile of bodies, what's the name of the
Hydra.
Oh, I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking about the pile of bodies that's in the bloody hallway that you can inspect and find the floating head.
Nazara.
What's Nazara? That's his name. I'm gonna check the trick contraption. You didn't notice the gaping hole at the center of the chamber until you got closer and your torch lit up the surroundings. The wooden contraption had been built around it as a freight elevator of sorts, lifting and lowering items and people if necessary. The contraption itself stuck out just by not being stained with blood and filth like everything else. Judging by some of the equipment around, the elevator must have been used by the same archaeological expedition that had set up the tents outside. You could have used it yourself if you had some rope with you. Damn, no rope. So no rope? The stairs leading down were sticky with grime like everything else in that chamber. A cold draft moved you along to the chasm that awaited you at the bottom. A giant underground ravine opened up before you. Even your torch couldn't properly light up the area. There were iron grid platforms suspended above a seemingly bottomless chasm. Mind the moles. The chasm were mounted on caving walls linked together with a shaky-looking bridge. The side you were on had a few individual prison cells in a row. That awaited on the other side of the bridge was shrouded in darkness. Go over the bridge. You cautiously walk up to the bridge. Just putting some weight on the thing caused a couple of nuts and bolts fall down to the endless depths.
That.
You braved across it. The bridge felt like it was about to collapse at any moment, but somehow it remained together. The other side of the ravine was more or less identical to the one you just came from. There were 3 cells in a row. At the end of the platform, there was a dark corridor leading to the ravine back to solid ground. Go to the corridor. Corridor took you to a small intersection. To the left, there was a doorway to a small room. Right corridor into darkness. Yeah, I'm gonna check small room. Looked like it once belonged to an army officer. There were numerous weapon racks in the prison. In the room, positioned next to an empty shelf. At the back of the room, there was a wooden desk with an impressive-looking leather recliner behind it. Behind the desk, you noticed a small cast of iron chest that seemed like a rusted lever. Check the lever. It looked like a mechanical device used to control something. You tried pulling it, but it was stuck. Didn't even budge a little. It was a curious little thing, but its purpose would remain a mystery to you. You heard distant chains rattle by the chasm. Seems like small combination caused your exploration reach the ears of someone or something. The room looked like it had once been. Army officer, yes. Few swords and spears. Looked like they once been used, but looters were taking everything that looked half decent or valuable. One of the swords was completely rubbish, and one of the spears was able to think, oh, awesome. Hell yeah, you take the officer's sword. It's a really good weapon. A loud creak echoed from the ravine. dungeons were dead silent apart from a small ruckus caused by you going through the officer's room. Whatever still lived in the darkness would hear you loud and clear. And back to the thing. Okay. Turn to the corridor. Intersection. Okay. Head deeper. Your torch pushed away the darkness, the dancing light flickering on a lone skeleton chained on the wall. The corridor circled back to the great chasm and its suspended platforms. The iron grid bridge connected to two sides had completely collapsed at the end of the ravine. You noticed a rope tied on the platform. On the other end of the rope, you saw a corpse belonging to the archaeological expedition. This person had apparently hang is a weird word where I think both hanged and hung are technically both past tense versions of it. It depends on which English scholars you ask.
I always heard
hung.
I always heard
hung himself.
It's hanged if you're talking about a body, but it's hung if you're talking about laundry or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I always heard hanged if you're talking about a person.
Yeah, whereas like the bed sheet hung from a rail nearby. Yeah.
This person was hanged from the bridge.
Okay, lift them up. You lift the corpse up. You were right in your assessment. The person had modern clothing that looked like a stereotypical Western archaeology. The person had nothing of value. You did pick up rope, though.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo, rope? Alright, let's head back. Oh, your footsteps were the only thing echoing in the air apart from occasional water droplets heard in the distance as you headed back. Okay. Head back. Oh, whoops. I went head back. And then maybe go check out the cells. As you walk to the platforms, you hear a loud screeching from one of the cells. The noise seemed to be coming from one of the cells at the end of the platform. Something trapped inside was causing a ruckus. A large humanoid creature bursted through the cell door. The thing was naked, revealing its abnormally muscular and scarred physique. Its left arm was missing, replaced with what looked like a long pole and a rod full of thorns and sharp-like projectiles. The most striking feature, however, in its abomination was its head. The thing had a head of a crow. It was not just a mask. The feathers seemed to be growing down its neck as well. You couldn't help but take a few steps back. The strong was the killing intent emitting from that thing. Run the fuck away. You are one man. Tried to slip past the creature. First you dodged another swing coming your way, and then leaped onto the annexed bridge, just barely escaping beyond the crow's reach. You ran across the bridge, and the creature followed, hot on your trail, the shaky bridge clattering under your feet. Just as you made it to the other side, the whole thing fell to pieces. The hulking mass of the crow mauler was too much for the antique construction. The creature slumped down to the endless chasm with the collapsing parts and pieces.
Nice.
Very nice. Oops, I didn't realize there was stuff there. Okay, now I think I want to go return. You once again hear the echo inside your head. This time you can almost understand some words. Deeper, you must delve deeper. The correct path must be somewhere at the bloody chamber. Yes. Okay. Contraption. Set it by the tent. Use the rope. Tie the rope tightly on the wooden beam through the loose end to the pit. Cold draft could be felt coming from the depths below. You head down. Climb down the claustrophobic. I read that as catastrophic for some reason. The claustrophobic bloody pit. The pit opened up and the area that revealed itself was even more open than the ravines upstairs. There was a huge cavern behind the fortress ruins. The rope ended up on top of a crashed wreckage. An iron cage had crashed on the rocky ground from the pit you came from. A closer inspection suggested that it was an elevator of some kind. Needless to say, it wasn't functional anymore. You stood on solid ground to the next to the wreckage. The cavern was huge. Your torch left you standing in the middle of darkness with no points of interest apart from a makeshift campsite with a couple of tents and some archaeological equipment. Let's go to the campsite. Check out the tents. You notice that there were no signs of life there. The archaeological crew was gone. Campsite had a couple tents set by side, open crates full of digging equipment, a makeshift table, various documents scattered around. Behind the camp, you found a larger digging site. Check out the tents. The first tent had a sleeping bag. You can get 5 matches. Second tent was mostly the same story, except there was a collection of archaeological findings on a table. After initial excitement, you noticed, however, that those findings were only run-of-the-mill artifacts, pieces of broken vases, and other trinkets of sort. Among the dunks, you do find an ornamental lantern. Campsite had a couple things.
Check the tents 2 more times.
Okay. Okay, once. Too bad all the things. Twice. Only this time you notice something hidden under a sleeping bag. Someone from the archaeological crew must have tried to hide it from the others. Found a small things amulet.
Baby!
At the start of the fucking game. Holy shit. The campsite had a couple tents side by side, open crates. Yeah, I think that's all we really need here. Go to the digging site. It's bigger than how it looked. The site expanded to a nearby cliff with a wooden platform leading down to the dark chasm. Go to the wooden platforms. You descended down to the depths, the echoing inside your head. Return once more. Misguided soul, can't you hear my call? Ooh. Good. Finally, the voices became even more clear. The archaeological crew had been digging deep, revealing something that should have stayed hidden. Ancient structures could clearly be seen protruding from the rocky surface.
Out of the depths?
The structures looked almost like the remains of a city from another time. So they dug themselves another pathway to Mahav.
Oh.
The wooden structures took you straight to them. A ladder was set to lead you inside that looked like a temple or some other place of worship. You climb in. Most of the temple was dilapidated by time, but you could still spot some murals on the walls that depicted rituals and gods gods not known in this day and age. Even if you witnessed glimpses of something larger, the scale of the building already impressed you. It was unlike anything you had ever seen. Eastern sanctuaries, the city of Amon, Abyssonia, they all paled in comparison. The voice inside your head was getting loud. This way, this way, this way, this way, this way. You dug the rubble with your bare hands. You turned over wooden structures and pushed away a stone pillar. There it was, the source of the voice. A burnt and withered head. A severed head, to be more precise. The head had deep lines running across it. In the place of its eyes were dark, empty sockets. The only hair on the head was a sparse mustache under its big nose. I wasn't expecting a worm like you whistling its way this deep to the dungeons, but I'll take what I can get. All earthworms do after all is dig. Your garments, maybe you do have more than a camel's spunk in place of your brange. You are a yellow mage, are you not? You confirm the suspicions of the beheaded oddity. Figures, that's why a measly maggot like yourself could hear my call. Very well. Kneel before me, for I am your master, Nazara, the doom and terror of the modern man. That name, Nazara, that was a name you were not expecting to hear. It was a name even the yellow mages only talked in the darkest hours of the night. Nazara, the harbinger of the burning crusade. Nazara, the bringer of torment. Nazara, the doom and the terror of the modern man. The great wizard from the eastern sanctums went by many names. He indeed was your master, for this beheaded wizard was the one who gave birth to the yellow mages and their identity. Only that had happened over thousands of years ago. There was no records of Nazara for at least 500 years. You are a lucky bastard, lucky indeed. There is a man I want skinned alive. After that, I want to rip off their spines, those maggots. You will slum before me, limp and feeble. Your master seemed to be surprisingly up to date with the twisting and turns of the world that had taken, surprisingly up to date with the twists and turns the world had taken since his absence. He had a mission for you. As a yellow mage, you were supposed to follow your own ambitions and greed, but there was a lot you could learn from this death-defying wizard that could further your knowledge on dark matters greatly. You decided to play along. You were sure that this terror of the modern man was perfectly aware your reasoning too. That was the typical relationship between a master yellow mage and their apprentice, after all. You were traveling to a small town in the Eastern Europe with the beheaded wizard to a town called ībʟɪᴅ. Your master promised... Oh, and look, all the light comes back as we're now in focus. Your master promised events of cosmic proportions. The stars were aligned for something big to happen, something that would turn the tides of the world for good.
Yeah, dude, you beat the text adventure without dying once.
That's cool.
You can totally die, and I sure did.
For sure. Like, again, that coin flip could have gone even worse. I knew the second that it's just like, okay, that's Crowmauler. Don't fight that thing. Like,
yeah.
You need a full party to take on Crowmauler. One person can't do it. You would just jump the deep end of the other world. This was little information, and then you can stock up on your different things. I want to know what stock up on magical goods does. Hey, you know what? That ain't bad. Just need a pipe. You felt tense since the moment you embarked on this journey. Every night, you'd see nightmares of the horrors that would await you in Pre-Evil. Whatever the price, the opportunity was too interesting to pass. With mixed feelings as you continue onwards. Save your character? Sure. I'll save over the very first adventure. Skip the intro? Yeah.
Yeah. Another cool thing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm glad that you saved that, because you can get that just by picking Osaw at the start.
Yeah. Oh yeah, see? This is what I was just gonna mention. Yeah, so throughout your adventure, Nazareth will actually communicate with you.
Yeah, and give you additional details. Trust no one but me, obviously. As long as you do what I say. Don't care about the trust pair. Now move it, maggot.
It's so nice to see you.
Very cool. Awesome. Okay.
What were you saying? Like you could just get this.
You can just you can get the text adventure if you just pick Osaw as your character, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very good idea to save it.
Yeah, I'm intimidated to pick Osaw because I was like, oh, I'm new to this game. Like, I don't, like, you probably need knowledge of how magic works and stuff before you pick, like, Osaw or Marina.
So beautiful.